On April 5, 2024, in the case of Shivani Tyagi versus State of UP and another, the Supreme Court reiterated that the exception for the suspension of sentence in serious offenses, as outlined in Section 389 of the KRPC, should not be invoked solely on the grounds of the convict's prolonged incarceration. The Supreme Court emphasized that the suspension of sentence provision in serious offenses under Section 389 of the Code of Criminal Procedure should not be solely based on the duration of the convict's incarceration. Factors beyond mere delay and incarceration period, such as the nature and gravity of the offense, manner of commission, and the desirability of releasing the convict on bail, must be objectively considered. Referring to the Anwari Begum v. Sher Mohammed and Honor judgment, the court outlined specific factors like the severity of punishment, witness tampering concerns, and prima facie satisfaction of the court regarding the charges to be considered while deciding Section 389 Code of Criminal Procedure applications. Orders lacking these considerations reflect a lack of judicial discretion and application of mind. Each case should be evaluated on its own merits to determine whether the sentence should be suspended during the appeal and if the appellants should be granted bail. The High Court's failure to consider relevant factors in a case involving an acid attack resulting in permanent disfigurement indicated a lack of judicial discretion. Mere duration of incarceration cannot be the sole grounds for suspending the sentence. Based on these considerations, the Supreme Court set aside the High Court's order granting suspension of sentence and directed the accused to surrender before the trial court. The judgment underscores the importance of a comprehensive assessment of various factors while deciding on the suspension of sentence in serious offenses. It establishes a precedent for future cases to ensure the proper application of judicial discretion and consideration of relevant factors in such matters. Summoning the accused requires only a prima facie case, as established by the allegations in the complaint, according to the Supreme Court ruling in the case of Aniruddha Kanwalkar versus Sharmila Das and others. The Supreme Court ruled that for summoning an accused, a prima facie case established from the allegations in the complaint and pre-summoning evidence is adequate. 2. The court overturned the decisions of the High Court and Sessions Court, which had nullified the summons issuance. 3. Justices C.T. Ravikumar and Rajesh Bindal emphasized that lower courts erred by treating the pre-summonings as a mini-trial for determining guilt or innocence. Before, Justice Rajesh Bindal clarified that a prima facie case suffices for summoning the accused, and lower courts should not engage in evaluating evidence as if pronouncing a verdict. 5. The court upheld the summons against the respondents, allowing them to stand trial for alleged offenses under Sections 420 and 120B of the IPC. The Supreme Court, in the case of Global Credit Capital Limited and Anner versus Satch Marketing Pt. Limited and Anner, Civil Appeal Nazas 69991-6994 of 2022, clarified the distinction between financial debt and operational debt under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, IBC. 1. The Supreme Court clarified that a debt qualifies as an operational debt only if it has a connection or correlation with the service provided by the creditor to the debtor. 2. In cases where a party owes a debt to another based on a written agreement for rendering service, the debt is operational only if it relates to the service provided. The court examined a case where a creditor deposited a security amount with a corporate debtor and provided promotional services for the debtor's beer product. 4. The agreement specified monthly payments of $4,000 by the debtor to the creditor for the promotional services, and the security deposit was to be refunded with 21% interest. 5. The National Company Law Appellate Tribunal, NT, previously deemed the security deposit as a financial debt. 6. The Supreme Court upheld the NCLAT decision, categorizing the monthly service payment as operational debt and the security deposit as financial debt. 7. It emphasized that the real nature of the transaction, as reflected in the written agreement, determines the classification of debt. 8. Financial debt relates to borrowing against the time value of money, while operational debt arises from transactions linked to services provided. 9. The court outlined a test for determining whether a debt is financial or operational, emphasizing the existence of a debt along with interest disbursed for the time value of money. 10. This ruling provides important guidance for interpreting debt classification under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, ensuring clarity in future cases regarding financial and operational debts. On January 30th, 2024, in the case of Vinod Kumar and Ors, etc., versus Union of India and others, the Supreme Court affirmed that an employee appointed through a valid process cannot be denied regularization if they have been performing a permanent role for a significant duration. The Supreme Court ruled that procedural formalities should not be used as grounds to deny regularization of service to employees who have performed the duties of regular employees for a significant period, despite their initial appointment being termed temporary. The court overturned the High Court's decision, which refused to regularize the employment of individuals serving continuously in roles equivalent to regular employees. Justices Vikram Nath and K.V. Viswanathan emphasized that the employees were appointed through a valid selection process similar to that of regular employees and had served continuously for about 25 years. The court highlighted that the failure to recognize the substantive nature of their roles and their prolonged service akin to permanent employees contradicted principles of equity, fairness, and employment regulations. The ruling underscored that continuous service in roles resembling regular employment, coupled with selection through a process mirroring regular recruitment, warranted regularization despite the initial engagement being labeled temporary, thereby departing from the temporary and scheme-specific nature of their initial appointment.